The story begins by showing a woman named Mai, a single mother who moved to the capital to make a living and provide a bright future for her only daughter, Min. Mai was determined to do all this so that Min wouldn't have to work hard from a young age like she did in the past. After a long journey, Mai arrives at an apartment that turns out to be filled with annoying and noisy neighbors. Just as Mai is unpacking, the apartment owner suddenly arrives and demands 2 months' rent. Additionally, the owner is also curious about her personal life. Feeling too tired to respond, Mai immediately pays the rent, making the apartment owner leave. However, the apartment owner gossiped about Mai with the neighbors. Fortunately, there was one kind neighbor, a man named Duong. They met on the apartment stairs when Duong accidentally bumped into Mai, causing her fish tank to break. Despite this, Duong quickly helped Mai. It turned out that Duong worked as a solo pianist at an upscale cafe. Additionally, he was known as a playboy, as there were always women staying at his place. Despite this, Duong continued to pursue Mai, even visiting her workplace at the massage parlor. At that place, Mai worked as a therapist and was nicknamed Golden Hands because of her skill in satisfying customers with her massages, although Mai never offered sensual massages. Additionally, Mai was not attracted to Duong despite his constant flirtations and continued her work professionally. Despite being rejected multiple times, Duong doesn't give up and becomes even more curious about Mai. Eventually, Duong keeps coming to the massage parlor just to get an exclusive massage from Mai, the woman of his dreams. Sometime later, Mai is harassed by her neighbors who deliberately dump trash in front of her door. Fortunately, Duong comes to Mai's rescue and drives away the mischievous neighbors. In addition to being harassed by her neighbors, Mai also faces unpleasant treatment from a coworker. Apparently, her coworker is jealous because all the customers request massages from Mai, even though she is still relatively new at the workplace. Despite this, Mai boldly challenged them by stating that she knew her coworkers often provided sexual services to clients, and she did not want the reputation of massage therapy to be further tarnished by such actions. Hearing this, Mai's coworkers became even angrier and attempted to hit her. Fortunately, a security guard arrived to help Mai. At night, the light in front of Mai's apartment suddenly went out. As Mai tried to fix the light, she was startled by a man, also her neighbor, who suddenly appeared. The man claimed he wanted to help Mai out of pity, but when she went inside to get tools, the man entered and had bad intentions towards Mai. Luckily, Duong suddenly arrived and immediately punched the man in the face. However, during the interrogation by the apartment security guard, the man refused to admit that he had broken into Mai's home. Instead, he pretended to be a victim of violence because Duong hit him. Because of this, Duong became angry, leading to another altercation. After the argument with the neighbor, Duong invited Mai to his favorite cafe. At that moment, Mai finally explained why everyone thought she was a bad woman. Hearing this, Duong simply replied that Mai was just too beautiful and not the bad woman people thought she was. After dinner, they intended to go straight home, but they saw the neighbors still being noisy. So, Duong invited Mai to his workplace to have fun and enjoy their time together. The next day, when Mai returned to her apartment, her daughter Min and her father came to visit. The reason her family came was that Mai's father was in debt again due to losing at gambling and wanted to ask Mai for money to pay off his debt. Additionally, Mai's father explained that if he couldn't pay, Min would be in danger. Hearing this, Mai could no longer contain her emotions toward her father, as he often bothered her just to ask her to pay off his gambling debts. She was very upset with her father's behavior and no longer trusted his promises to stop gambling. Mai then asked her father to leave after giving him some money. At the same time, Mai's neighbors were spying on her argument with her father. Fortunately, Min came out to chase them away. After her father left, Mai's emotions started to calm down upon seeing her beloved daughter. Like any mother and daughter, Mai and Min were not shy about sharing their stories with each other. At that moment, Mai wanted her daughter to stay with her. But Min immediately refused, saying that if he stayed with Mai, no man would want to approach her. Min just hoped that Mai could find a partner and live happily. Hearing her daughter's words, Mai was reminded of her difficult past as a single mother. A few days later, Min and Mai's father got a job from a friend of Mai's named Dao. It turned out that Dao was one of Mai's regular clients at the massage parlor and was considered like a younger sister to her, so Mai did not hesitate to discuss her romantic issues with her. On the other hand, Duong was also consulting with his friend named Hong about his relationship with Mai. Sometime later, at the massage parlor, Mai was getting ready to go home. But as she just left the changing room, the door couldn't be opened, and it turned out to be the work of two of Mai's co-workers who deliberately locked her in for revenge. Fortunately, Mai was a good person, so there were always people willing to help her. Shortly after, the massage parlor security guard arrived and managed to save her just in time. It turned out, the security guard was suspicious of Mai's two co-workers because Mai hadn't come out of the building yet, even though she always said goodbye to the guard before leaving. After that, Mai cried from the sadness of being treated that way. That night, Mai didn't feel like going back to her apartment and ended up stopping by Duong's workplace to talk about her problems. While listening to Mai's story, Duong also brought up the subject of their relationship's future. At that moment, Duong admitted that he was initially shocked to learn that Mai already had a child. However, Duong didn't care about that because he genuinely wanted to start a serious relationship with her. Unfortunately, Mai seemed unready to enter a relationship with anyone, fearing she might be disappointed again. Upon arriving at her apartment, Mai, still drunk, went to Duong's apartment. Unexpectedly, Mai immediately kissed Duong, and they ended up spending the night together. The next day, Mai realized she had stayed over at Duong's place and intended to leave immediately. Unfortunately, Duong caught her in the act. Mai then told him that what happened the previous night was her doing, so Duong didn't need to take any responsibility. However, Duong said that Mai had to take responsibility for him because now Mai was his girlfriend and he didn't want to be considered just a one-night stand by her. Seeing Duong's sincerity, Mai's heart softened, and she agreed to be his girlfriend. Like love-struck teenagers, they appeared affectionate all the time and enjoyed their beautiful moments of dating. Eventually, Duong wanted to take his relationship with Mai to a more serious level, so he decided to introduce Mai to his extended family. When they arrived at Duong's family home, Mai was introduced to a woman whom he often called Mommy. At first, Mai thought Mommy was Duong's mother because he seemed fond of her. But Mai was shocked when Dao suddenly appeared and Duong called her mother. Even though Dao was her closest friend, Mai felt utterly unhappy upon learning this fact. She felt overwhelmed by the information about her boyfriend, from Duong's status as the son of a wealthy family with a luxurious home to the true identity of his mother being Dao. The next day, Mai met with Dao again at the church. As a good friend and a single mother like Mai, Dao advised her to reconsider her relationship with Duong. Apparently, Dao wasn't forbidding Mai from dating her son, but she knew that Duong was not a responsible man, a playboy who only relied on his mother's money to have fun. In fact, Dao named Duong because her son was like a caterpillar that always lived in a cocoon. Even at 30 years old, he was not reliable at all. Not long after, they received bad news from the place where Min and Mai's father worked. Mai's father had caused trouble again, owing 20,000 dong to a broker just for gambling. Upon learning this, Dao helped pay off Mai's father's debt immediately. Feeling ashamed, Mai immediately went home with her father. Upon arriving home, Mai gave all the money she had to her father and asked him not to disturb her life anymore because she was fed up with his behavior, which had never changed. Not long after, Duong came and asked why Mai had been avoiding him since she met his mother. Mai, exhausted with all the problems in her life, showed Duong her chaotic family life. She then asked Duong if he could take care of her and her family because Duong still depended on his mother's money. Hearing Mai's words, Duong remained silent, unable to answer. After that, Duong went to see his mom, thinking that she had said something bad to Mai. Dao then asked her son if he could help Mai when Duong himself couldn't be independent and still relied on his mother's money. But Duong became upset, thinking that in the end, all problems revolved around money and accusing his mother of doing everything for her own interests. Hearing Duong's words, Dao became furious with her son, feeling that all her sacrifices to work hard and become successful for his sake were in vain. In her anger, Dao demanded that Duong hand over all his credit cards to prove that he could succeed without her help. After giving up his wealth, Duong's life changed dramatically, where he immediately lost his job as a solo pianist at his mother's luxurious cafe and even lost his place to live, which had been rented out to someone else. Whenever Duong found a job, he was often fired because he wasn't good at working. On top of that, his relationship with Mai still hadn't improved. Meanwhile, one of Mai's neighbors came to her apartment, accusing her of seducing her husband. At first, Mai wanted to defend herself, but ultimately chose to back down. As Mai was about to leave, she met another neighbor named Xiao, who had a sexy figure. Xiao immediately advised Mai to be braver and standing up to everyone, because she also deserved to live happily. However, Mai's problems didn't end there. At work, her coworker suddenly slapped her, accusing Mai of reporting her misconduct to get her fired. Feeling fed up and distressed, Mai began to hallucinate, being terrorized by ghosts resembling the people who constantly bothered her. But in that moment, Mai became motivated to fight back against her tormentors, remembering Qiao's advice. Mai then fought her coworker, causing a commotion at the massage parlor. She even decided to quit her job. Unsure of whom to talk to, Mai finally reached out to Duong. Duong then took this opportunity to mend his relationship with Mai. He even gave her a set of jewelry that he had earned through his own hard work. Seeing the gift from Duong, Mai felt sad because Duong, who once lived a happy and wealthy life, now had to live a difficult and suffering life just because of a poor woman like herself. As Duong was about to leave, Mai finally admitted that she wanted to experience falling in love again, even if just once, without caring about all the problems she was facing at that time. Duong immediately hugged Mai and said that he would never leave her. They eventually left without caring about the gossip from the neighbors. That night, Duong and Mai were invited to dinner at Dao's house. When Mai entered, she was surprised to see Min there as well. At first, they thought the dinner was just a family gathering, where Duong even thought that Dao had approved of their relationship. It turned out that Dao's real plan was to propose a deal. If Mai was willing to break up with Duong, she would secure Min's future. Because of this, Mai, Duong, and Min were shocked by Dao's words. Soon after, Mai's father suddenly appeared, having been paid by Dao to reveal Mai's past. However, her father fabricated a story, claiming that Mai was a promiscuous woman who slept with many men, leading to her pregnancy and the birth of Min. Hearing this, Mai was shocked because, in reality, her father had betrayed her and sold her to pay off his debt. This revelation made Mai remember the past she had tried so hard to forget. Mai was speechless, extremely upset, and couldn't believe that her own father would degrade her to such an extent. Meanwhile, Duong, who had been silently processing all the facts about Mai's past, finally spoke up, asserting that he didn't care about her past and that he still intended to marry her. Hearing Duong's declaration, his family vehemently opposed him, leading to a physical altercation between Duong and his friend Hong. In short, when they returned to the apartment, her father was angry and asked why Mai made him look like a villain in his own family, claiming he did everything for their sake. However, Mai could no longer tolerate her father's terrible behavior, so she snatched all the money given by Duong's family and threw it away. Mai's father, who was obsessed with money, immediately went down to retrieve it. However, in his haste, he accidentally fell down the stairs and died. A few days later, Mai arranged to meet Duong. Even though Mai loved Duong deeply, she felt it would be selfish to continue their relationship. With Dao still in critical condition, Mai asked to end their relationship. However, Duong refused and asked Mai to wait for 2 years until he could find a solution to mend their relationship. Unfortunately, Mai stood firm and asked Duong to promise not to wait for her because she wanted Duong to move on and live a happy life, even without her. In the end, that moment marked their farewell. For years later, although Mai had to struggle and rise alone after her lowest point, she succeeded in proving her hard work by opening her own massage parlor. Additionally, Min also found success as a band member and lived happily with her partner. One day, Mai happened to meet Duong, and they seemed eager to catch up and reminisce. Shortly after, Dao arrived with a woman who turned out to be Duong's wife. Because of this, Mai realized that Duong had indeed moved on and chose to live happily with his pregnant wife. When they met, Dao had also made peace with her past, and they reconciled. Seeing Duong happy with his small family, Mai admitted to him that she also had a boyfriend. After that, Mai was picked up by a man whom she introduced as her boyfriend. However, the man was actually not her boyfriend but her private driver, because deep down, Mai still longed to build a happy family with Duong. In the end, fate had other plans, because Mai could only cry and tried to forget her past, determined to start a new chapter. The film ended with a bittersweet conclusion. Moral lesson from the story: never move to a new city without checking if your neighbors are quieter than a rock concert. And always keep an extra fish tank handy because you never know when a pianist might show up.